Okay, so we are live now. This is the usual. We wait for a few people to jump on the stream because there's always this short delay. So this is the point where we kind of get comfortable, drink our last sips of coffee, do a few little stretches, yeah.
Some nerve
Wake up.
flossing.
Just wake up. All right. So we see a few
My
people
makeup is
on with
running. My makeup is running.
us. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Well, my makeup is not running. I'm not sweating yet.
Yeah,
Hello,
the lighting on you is the best. The ring light. That is the secret.
Oh, thank you. I have
I've got this
three
like
lights, but the ring light,
fluorescent.
yeah. I have like a softer light and I have a light on top to try to, brighten up my head. And then I've got the ring light there, yeah. So,
yeah, you look good.
Thank you. Now, if only I would get but more sleep like right before the show because I'm always like puffy because I'm tired. Okay, enough of that. We have people on with us, so let's get started. Okay, so hi everyone. Glad to see you on this lovely Sunday morning. It's a beautiful day here in Los Angeles, hopefully a beautiful day where you are too. I'm Margot Pies. I'm a scientist, engineer, and occasional journalist, and this is my co-host over on the side here. That's the amazing grassroots organizer, Carlos Marroquin, also known as the Mailman. You're watching our weekly Sunday morning show, Stand Up, Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. We simulcast on Facebook and YouTube, so please share us with your friends and please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. Today we have Alex Schaefer, a Los Angeles-based artist who is known for his cityscapes and more politically for his art series of Banks of Fire. And I hope we can touch on that, Alex, a little bit about that. And a little bit about him. He's a California native, and he studied at the Art Center College of Design here in California. So, Carlos, tell us a little bit more about Alex.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. When we talk about Alex, just for the introduction, we're probably going to take a whole hour. He's a good friend of mine. I love Alex. Alex, I have known him since the days of Occupy, and since then, when I met him, and he was doing his thing, which I'm not going to take away from him, so I'm going to let him describe the work that he used to do for Occupy. But that's where I met him, and he was an and still is probably an anti Wall Street and a supporter of public banking, etc. But Alex is an artist, and one of the people, one of the local Southern California artists that I have so much admiration and respect for because of the kind of work that he does within the arts and his message that he delivers, his creativity. Alex does it all. And just to let you know a little bit even more personal, Alex is the creator of Big Bernie. You guys seen Big Bernie all over the place? This is the guy that created Big Bernie, responsible for turning literally countless, tens of thousands, perhaps even 100,000, uh, for turn them to Bernie through the visuals that he presented during the campaign in 2016 and 2020. But welcome,
Yeah.
Alex. Welcome.
Thanks. Thank you, Carlos. Oh my God. I just remember thinking back to the Rose Parade. When was that? Like 2016? When was
Right.
it? I mean, time is
Yes.
going by too fast now. I'm
Yes.
totally like the last 4 years has just been too much. I'm like, too much has happened, and then here we are, full cycle. I mean, I look at the GameStop thing as like Occupy Wall Street 2.0.
Yeah.
It's occupying Wall Street on the playing field that Wall Street actually plays the game, you know. And so one thing that I feel like is happening right now is that occupying physical space isn't going to work anymore. You know what I mean? Like they're going to just be, or it's not going to, like I feel like as society is moving totally digital, that the protest is going to be like the way that the Redditors are attacking GameStop. Or, I mean, I guess they're not attacking GameStop. They're just using GameStop the way the hedge funds are using it.
Yeah, Alex, so why don't we give a little bit of background on the story for anyone who hasn't been following the news?
Yeah.
And just right before that, we do that. Carlos, I noticed your audio was kind of breaking up a little bit. I don't know if you want to check. It almost sounds like you're blowing out the mic. So maybe just take a look and see if there's anything you can do while we just kind of give a little bit of background on GameStop. So this has been something that started, and I apologize, my dogs are barking at noises, so
I turned the
hear
volume up
them.
down on the dog.
Unfortunately, they always start barking during the show. But yeah, so this happened. So this was really something in the making for about a month. There was a guy named Deep Fucking Value, that's literally his username on Reddit, who had stock in GameStop and for a couple of years and it did some research and saw that these hedge funds were shorting GameStop like 145%. So that means that they were lending more stock than actually existed for the company.
Right. That's like, I think they call that naked shorting.
Yeah. Okay.
Meaning, which is it's total fraud. Like you don't. So then, these guys were just using the stock to going down and profiting on the decay of the stock. And like you're saying, this guy on Reddit noticed this, and I guess there's a few other stocks that are in the same situation, like Blockbuster. Yeah. Blockbuster is still a stock, or what was the other one?
Bed Bath & Beyond, BlackBerry, Nokia, and AMC.
Yeah, and I mean it's like without being too complicated, what the Redditors are doing are just forcing this bet that these hedge funds are making. Like they're forcing them up against the wall because they have to. They're betting on the decline of the economy, So by making the stock price go up, then suddenly these people have to buy back shares at higher and higher prices. And we're learning just how much. I think what people are going to learn right now is in real time, more people are going to learn the audacity of too big to fail, because all eyes are on the SEC right now, and what Robinhood did, and it's pulling the curtain off of this kind of like full of free market capitalism, And the thing is, for people that were involved in Occupy, like Carlos and myself, I mean, it was like this realization happened way back in 2011, or for some people it happened in the 2000s or the 90s or whatever, recognizing just the gaming of the system, that it's a rigged market, it's not a free market.
Right. And I think that we need to really emphasize the fact that capitalism doesn't work. There's no trickle down economics. People have been suffering for a long time. We got some young people that got smart and beat them at their own game. But the fact of the matter is, and we need to always keep this in focus, is the fact that Wall Street continues to be a den of fraud and corruption and capitalism at its best. But we have to remember that many of these struggles that we're fighting in right now, they're all tied up in Wall Street as well.
Yeah.
Like the housing market with the mortgage, and people do suffer because of Wall Street in different ways, including the fact that you have investors that do not care about the housing crisis.
Yeah.
They could make money out of that. They will make money out of that or
Yeah.
anything. So we got to remember that. I think that was very important. That's one of the thoughts that came to my mind. The struggling of the poor, of the working class.
Yeah.
The enormous amount of money that these people make in no time, doing
I know.
nothing.
Yeah. I know. It's like arbitrage or whatever, where buy low, sell high. But what the hedge funds were doing was like buy high, sell high, buy low, or whatever. Because
Right, buy back low.
they borrow the stock and then they immediately sell it, and the intention is that they're going to buy it back when it goes down after a certain period of time, and then they're going to pocket the difference. So it's vulture capitalism. I think it's like, instead of like a play on words, venture capitalist, it's vulture capitalism, because it's just kind of like feeding off the decay. And the thing is, I don't know if there's I don't know if it's even racist to use the word, because this is what it's always described as. It's a Mexican standoff. Is there another word for that doesn't use the word Mexican, or is it racist to say Mexican standoff? The concept is everyone's pointing a gun at each other on a merry-go-round, or whatever. Like it's either a triangle or whatever. So the hedge funds are pointing at the pension funds, and the pension funds are pointing at the banks, and the banks are pointing at the insurance industry, and the insurance industry is pointing at the government or whatever. It's just like, what? I've always seen, like, now for me too, I've always been like, as maybe it's part of me being a painter, I like the simplest solution to figure something out, so for me, I immediately was just like, racism, poverty, and it just felt like, well, the problem is the money. So for me, it was always like, well, the number one problem, the root of the problem is the money, and how it's made and how it's spent and who gets to spend it and where they get to spend it. And so everything else just felt like an ancillary problem that was a branch. I mean, I would argue that things like depression and racism and xenophobia and all, like, so many things could really be pointed to, but like towards that they do have a root in just people being poor and like having and scapegoating, when the big problem is that we've been lied to since 1971. Does anyone here know, I've heard of lately, who's been around in the is Stephanie Kelton, and she's written this book called The Deficit Myth, and she's doing a lot of interviews about modern monetary theory, and she was Bernie Sanders' financial advisor. I wish she did more for Bernie to help him articulate her messages as a politician to people, because he wasn't very good at that. I mean, the big everyone would always, when you do an impersonation of Bernie, it was just like the 1% of the 10 million versus the 3% of the 5. And then, he's throwing all these numbers out, and everyone's like, what? You're big screwed. So the deficit myth is, and she articulates that she talks about modern monetary theory, MMT. It's like a thing people are talking about. And public banks is part of that, and universal basic income and whatever. But what drives me crazy is we've been in the era of modern monetary theory since 1971. We're at the end of the currency, the modern monetary theory currency. It already happened. But they lied to us in 71. The wars never ended. The surveillance state grew. The spending for weird, crazy science projects with the DARPA and the universities and government funding and all this crazy deep science and the CIA self-empowering themselves and going off and doing shit around the world. It's like that is all the product of this infinite money source that Nixon made. So for Stephanie Kelton to be like, we should be spending money, this money on the people. We should have been doing it the whole time, but we got snookered, totally lied to by them saying, we have, we don't have the money to have a good healthcare system. Oh, we don't have the money to have this and that, and then to just be able to never have any question about, we're 20 years in Afghanistan. Oh, we're just slogging through Vietnam for another 7 years. It took a lot of money. They had to borrow and create money and spend it to move and deindustrialize America. That took money. And the deindustrialization of the country happened from, the 70s to now, to the point where it's like we don't even make our own medical supplies in the country, which to me is like a national security risk.
Right, Alex. I think what you're talking about in the 70s. No problem. But for the audience, because they may not know what you're talking about under Nixon. So this was when Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard. Is that what you're referring to?
Right, and they created the petrodollar, and then it's infinite money,
Yeah, so we've had this currency that's not backed by anything for 40 years now, I guess, right. And maybe longer. And now that basically means that you can print money all you want, and that's kind of part of the MMT idea, is that you can print the money if you need it. Taxing is not actually the point in which you raise money anymore. It's really to take money out of the economy to deal with inflation.
Yeah, so they could literally just burn it, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Like they could just burn the tax money.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's, I think, fundamentally the idea. Yeah. So, and actually, to your point, I mean, the vast majority of dollars that exist right now in the market or in the world, however we want to describe it, were printed in the past, in 2020, because of the pandemic. So, in a way, we are already behaving, as you say, like an MMT approach to currency, but we have not really been told this, and the politicians act as if we are still on the gold standard.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they're always like hemming and hawing about, I mean, we should see, the thing is, it's almost too late now. Like there is an end to what has been done. And it feels like the majority of the time, the money has been spent in a way to empower like a tiny group of people, and now that we need like all this, we need a bunch of spending on infrastructure, that it's almost like, I don't know, it's frustrating that.
Right. One thing for sure is that we know they're never going to be giving us things. This is why it's important activism in different forms. You don't have to necessarily be on the streets. You could be doing different things. And that was part of the stuff that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about.
Yeah, we'll change topics.
Is the fact that activism has taken us from the days of Occupy to where we are right now. And the movement that follow Occupy. But seeing the world that we see right now, the way things are really bad financially for every state, every city, everybody, don't have money. We have homelessness everywhere. So we need to know and understand that they are not going to give us anything. We have to fight for what we have. We have to organize. We have to be creative in so many ways. And this is where you were a champion. You have been a champion.
Well, Carlos, I feel like you're the man. I am, like when it comes to artists, I almost rank us like maybe like we're definitely below, or around the Venn diagram intersection of like blabbermouth Hollywood actor types. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't organize my way out of a paper bag.
But look,
I got respect for like the people on Reddit. If you're, I mean, that is organization. You know, like that is, that's and like the network that you got, Carlos. I mean, I'm sure you loaned it to help get Biden in office because like you had such an incredible infrastructure of connections into Arizona and all over Southern California, LA County and stuff. Like that's, you know, I can help people make some posters. I can maybe I can make memes, you know, like the burning banks are almost like a meme, you know.
look at if
And
you
so
look
like
at
people like you or Trinity Tran, like those are the people we need more of. You know, like I got a stimulus check and I just did this was like back, you know. I donated it to the North County San Diego Food Bank.
good.
I didn't need it, you know, but I know that they're gonna like what Trinity's doing with the, you know, and the involvement that blows my mind. I love that.
But
That's
you know,
real.
I know you're trying to be humble, but these are the realities. Is that artists have played a very important part in the revolution, in the political revolution.
Yeah.
The activity, because look at you created Big Bernie. To some people,
Right.
it's a giant 20
Yeah.
puppet, but he had a message
Yeah.
connected to that.
It
So
was
what I'm saying
definitely
is,
like I was hooked into the zeitgeist of 2011, and I feel like we're there again. You know,
right,
someone was pointing out that like some of these kids on Reddit that are in this GameStop thing, they were like 10 years old when their parents or their uncle or whatever lost their home. Their life got turned around as little kids, and so they have nothing to lose. You know, it's almost like you've created
To be
these
clear,
sort of
though,
jihadis.
let's be clear, Alex. Though
Yeah.
these are not just most of these people are millennials, not just older Gen Z. Although there are some Gen Z involved in this
Yeah.
and what's happening on Wall Street bets, but a lot of them are millennials. So they
Right.
were maybe teenagers or in their early 20s when this happened. A lot of them were coming out of college.
Yeah. Okay.
Myself,
yeah. In
in
2011,
that group,
2008.
this was 2008 when this crashed. So, they lost in different ways. And there
Yeah.
are a lot of stories of people like, I was a teenager, I was in high school, I was like in the 8th grade, and my family lost this and that. But I make this point because what has happened is that a lot of people still think that millennials are dumb kids, and millennials are not. The oldest millennials turned 40 this year, and so millennials now are educated. They don't have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money as a generation. We're the first generation to make less money than our parents, and so they're savvy enough to know how to work technology. We're also like the first digital natives. And I think that a lot of people have underestimated millennials just because we are, we're kind of poor and we've been made fun of our whole adult lives as, coming back with our parents, that, helicopter kids or whatever, living in our parents' basements and stuff. But we're actually smarter than people give us credit for. And I think that we need to really give credit where credit is due here, that these are not just a bunch of kids doing this. These are adults doing this who know how the system works, who can learn, and who have banded together against the thing that they know growing up has been out to take their money and their livelihoods away.
That it's predatory. They're actually like predators. The people that are in these hedge funds. Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to imply that. I mean, I like what I was saying was that it's been like what 12 years since all this mayhem started, and that's like a long ass time. So the people, like, everybody's 12 years older.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the people that that are in their 40s and were have student loan debt and just dragging interest rates, pulling their life down, that they totally understand in a different way, as opposed to just like, watching their parents get screwed. They themselves are, witness to it. So I think it's great. As an artist, I feel like I am on the beach painting the tidal wave, and the people on Reddit are fucking surfing it. Ones that I have the respect for, because they're gonna wipe out. They're gonna get the trophy. They're riding the wave. I mean, I guess I'm just painting it as long as until it crashes on the beach.
Well,
And
I think that's, like Carl said, I think you're being very humble, because art in itself is a very transformative thing, and it's a very expressive thing, and it can help people connect the dots in a way that just talking about it or just seeing it in the news can do. So I want to ask you, what inspired you to start to make art that had a message, a political message? Were you always inclined to be political with your art, or was this something that happened because of how dire the situation was coming out of 2008, and because of the whole movement that was in the collective conscious at the time in 2011?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely it. I don't think that I gave much thought to politics, really. But but I started, because of the internet and watching, certain. I would definitely say watching Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert, who have done like an online financial show for a long time, and just people that weren't on the regular news, and the articles and the things I started to link and get turned on to were just again immediately led me to. It was like I was radicalized. I could see why, like, now we're just going to have all this censorship of people that have these, because I got radicalized. Like, I was like, this is outrageous. This is not fair. This is, and again, I just kind of immediately went straight to, well, the problem is the money. If the money was distributed more, the money is distorting. The distorted money that we've had since the 70s has distorted the world in a way that it shouldn't have. We should, with a limited money or a different type of money, we would have been forced maybe to not always choose the hammer and go to war. We might have been forced to be diplomatic. We might have been forced to make different decisions, without the infinite money, So I think that it's just distorted society in kind of a weird way, So yeah, I had always done plein air painting. I love to paint landscapes and set up an easel and paint on the street and go places. And I've been all over the country and all over the world and painted. And so the Burning Bank started off as just doing a plein air painting of an aesthetically interesting Southern California, Los Angeles bank, and then just make it look like it caught fire, And
it was Wells Fargo, correct?
Huh?
That you're talking about the Wells Fargo painting?
Well, it was a Chase. I did a lot of Chase banks. And, I would say, again, I chose Chase probably for two reasons. One, because they were just the most beautiful architecture of the Southern California banks, and then two was that I think Max Kaiser was, like, at that time particularly pissed off at JP Morgan. And And then what's interesting, also coming full circle, is they're trying to do another short squeeze with silver, just like Max Kaiser was trying to get everyone to crash JP Morgan back in 2015. And it'll be curious to see if that comes to fruition, because that's another like tidal wave.
One short squeeze at a time, right?
Yeah. That's like the next
your
wave.
money.
Everyone's like, wait till the markets open on Monday. What's going to happen? You know?
Yeah.
So I mean, it became like a form of a meme, and it definitely was sort of a release valve. And those paintings to this day are a release valve of anger for the public. Like every time there's crazy news with the economy and some new outrage is made plain to a wide swath of the public, then those paintings go wild on the internet again.
Carlos, do you want to ask a question of Alex?
Yeah, well, looking at the current affairs right now,
yeah,
and part of the stuff that we want to do in the show is always point away to the areas that we need to be paying attention to. For me, I look at different things. Some of the ways that I pay attention to specific issues is by engaging and talking to the people that are most affected by them. For example, if I wanna, for me to be able to fully not only understand but be passionate about advocating for the homeless people, or those that are facing or that are unhoused or experiencing any kind of homelessness, is to meet them where they're at. To talk to them, to hear them out. These are the things that money doesn't do. Money discriminates, no matter what. But for us, we have to learn to engage people more. That's how we grow the base of the movement. That's how we grow in numbers, is by engaging other people and inviting them to share their thoughts. And we'd be surprised how much connected we are to each other because of the issues. You know what I mean? And this is why I like to talk to people like you, an artist, because you see the world through your own eyes, using the arts. And I get so blown away sometimes when, artists come out with either paintings or some sculpture or something that connects a message to it. So what I'm saying all this because I'm very passionate about the arts and the need that we have for the movement to be creative. Because any kind of campaign, political campaign that's running right now, they're using your traditional campaigning.
Yeah.
We are in a new era.
I know.
A new era. That's why we need to talk to each other, and that's why we need the creativity of everyone.
Yeah, and I think that that again, like a lesson that we're learning with the whole GameStop and the organization with Reddit. Look at how afraid the big power players get when a lot of people can work in coordination. It's incredible. They're like literally talking about censoring Reddit. They're starting to say, oh, these are like white supremacist stock traders, and they're trying to pick it. They're probably like anti-trans, or they're making, they're tarring and feathering these people that are, just playing the same game the same way that the other players are playing it and winning. That everybody's got to learn not just how to make posters with with Sharpies and stuff, but it's really getting more and more online, and we're being forced online because of the pandemic and because of the societal changes that are occurring right now, with everything being social distance, and we don't know when that's going to stop. So everybody should learn how to, should download OBS and start watching YouTube videos about how to live stream and be able to, navigate Reddit and understand this stuff, because that's where it's happening. I mean,
So
Yeah.
the other day we were discussing a little bit, and Margaret, I'm gonna let you weigh in on this, because the hard realities and is that companies don't want to hire no more people because they cannot operate in different ways now.
yeah.
And even the pandemic was the biggest Christmas presents for corporations, because they get to do a lot of stuff that they couldn't do before. But what I'm afraid of is that a lot of these jobs will never come back again because of the futuristic, the future being
Yeah.
futuristic, technology, etc., computers.
Oh my God.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, Carlos, I mean, you're right. And actually, this takes me back to the time of Occupy, because like the both of you, I was also at Occupy LA, but I was there in the capacity of a reporter. Of course, I designated myself as a reporter for Occupy, not for Occupy, but, to show up with my camera and a microphone and file these reports. And so one of the things I was interested in at the time was the job reports. What was happening to the jobs that we lost during the recession in 2008, and what we're getting, we're replacing them with the same kinds of jobs, with the same kinds of benefits and wages. And what I saw was that actually, and this is something that Bernie touched on in 2016, was that wages were stagnated. That of course the top 1% were making the most money, and their wages were skyrocketing. Their profits were skyrocketing, while the working class, everybody else in this country, theirs were stagnated. And with the jobs that we lost, they were good jobs in the recession, before the recession of 2008. Afterwards, those jobs that were coming back were not anywhere as good. They didn't have the same benefits. They weren't being paid as much. And I think we're seeing that again. We have the potential to see that again, because what is the incentive to these companies to bring people back at better wages? They don't really have any incentive. Their number one incentive, especially the ones that are publicly traded, is to make money. So, a lot of companies have cut back on their employees so that they could increase their profit, because that's what is the bottom line for the investors. So I think, yes, we run the risk of seeing people coming back into jobs that are not as good as the ones they had before. And yes, Carlos, talking about technology. Well, yeah, automation is a big deal. Everything is being automated. Amazon is basically running their warehouse workers as robots so that they can easily take them out and put the real robots into the whole process in the warehouse. So, people are already, in a way, are being roboticized. And that's not like a science fiction thing. This is real, and we do have to accept this. And then to your point, Alex, yeah, I think we need to really accept that we are entering this like full-time digital life, in which our digital lives are more, in a way, almost more important than our real world lives.
Oh,
Carlos, you were saying something right now. Yes.
Saying that we saw that with the postal service, when they removed those big sorting machines. Well, I remember when I started in the post office, they used to have mailmen sorting out the mail by hand. Then they bought these super huge computers that can literally, sort through the mail in a matter of seconds, what it made it take, a full crew the entire day. So automation is here, and it's gonna be more relentless.
I know.
That's what I'm really concerned about.
Yeah. I mean, what Margot, you start talking about, kind of being forced to be roboticized, that starts getting into that whole kind of transhuman subject of, people becoming cyborgs and neural lace and interfacing with computers directly. And it's, I it's bizarre, and I'm sure someone like a corporation like Amazon, they're probably like, they can't wait until they can just everything's going to be robots.
Oh,
Like
yeah, it's fantastic.
they're like
And
people sneeze and all that. It's like, oh no, you can't sneeze because you'll spread germs, and robots don't sneeze, and so.
yeah, and also a comment that I heard from someone who's like a Wall Street investor. I listen to these podcasts and I read a lot of Bloomberg news, and one of the people who was commenting on this was saying, this has basically been a bull market for companies who don't have a lot of employees and a bear market for those that do. And for people who are not familiar with those terms, that basically means that people are losing on the market and the companies that don't really have to deal with a lot of people overhead are winning. So that's like a lot of the technology companies and these energy companies. And there's a lot of speculation, and which is a whole another side thing. But the reality that what is happening right now is that the workers are losing in this pandemic. And there's so far nothing being done to help them. And I think now this is a really good point, Carlos and Alex, for us to segue into Biden administration and to talk a little bit about what they're going to be doing, or are they going to be doing. And Alex, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you're seeing with the Biden administration. And, they want to put out a stimulus package, and the Senate is kind of grounded to a halt right now because they can't agree on how to run the Senate. So what are your thoughts on the president, the political atmosphere right now, and working class people getting some help, if any?
Well, I saw an interview recently on, I watched this podcast called Useful Idiots with Katie Halper and Matt Taibbi, and David Sirota was on, and they were talking about GameStop and a lot of the economy stuff. And David's, and he said, we made a list of like 300 things that the Biden administration can do immediately without changing any laws, just enforcing existing laws that are, underutilized or whatever. And so it sounded like they've been doing a lot of the things that David Sirota and a bunch of other, I guess, journalists or Politico wonks and stuff said that these are good moves. Honestly, the only thing that scares me is that we're getting sold the and there's so many. It's like we're getting so okay. I'll just say it. I don't think that going the direction of China and the way the Chinese government functions is ever the right decision. And then what people immediately say is, and that's because I say China is a totalitarian surveillance state, okay, of the highest magnitude. And the only, so they have free flow of all public information that you're giving away with your phone and whatever, but it all funnels through the government. In America, the government has to like subpoena the corporations or whatever. But the smoother that I see the gears between big tech and government, and then big tech loves China, that makes me really scared. Like, I get scared.
Now, Mark, it was really interesting because we saw the Biden administration coming in, and they made, and Biden actually signed a numerous amount of executive orders. Some of those are very symbolic because they actually, nothing really happened.
Yeah.
He set it to where it was prior to Trump.
Right.
He didn't really come out with new things or something better or to make it stronger.
Yeah.
He just put it back to where it was. What that really bothers me on that is that people may be sold Kool-Aid, thinking, well, look at he's reversing all this. What we
Yeah.
need to do is pressure, Biden to do some real meaningful changes.
Yeah.
I'm talking about if he's going to do something for the climate, he needs to be aggressive, because right now we cannot afford to be tiptoeing around the tulips. We
I
cannot
know.
do that. We need strength. He needs to show the difference between, if there's any difference between, Democrats and Republicans. But we have seen right now, we are seeing Democrats pretty much, being very nice to Republicans. When Republicans
I
didn't
know.
a lick about anybody, they did what they wanted to, and they have been relentless. But again, I'm afraid that a Biden administration may do the same mistakes that Obama did, where he tried to please the Republican Party that had no interest in helping the people.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest tell that we are going to get in the very near future, because their hand is being forced, is what do they do about GameStop? And what do they do about the Robinhood app not playing free market capitalism? And I really think that that is going to reveal a lot about uh, where their heart is really at, I guess, for better or worse.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex. Finish your
Oh, I mean, I just, to just blather on. You know, Vice President Harris, Carlos was no friend of homeowners in California back during the Occupy thing, and people don't like to talk about it, but it's a fact. And so she, when the rubber hit the road, she definitely folded, and or just wilted at the power of the mortgage industry. So I'm really hoping that, again, Bernie blew my mind, and he is going to be canonized, like as a touchstone of reality. He said about this, like, the business model of Wall Street is fraud. Now, what's funny is Max Kaiser or Stacey Herbert retweeted that and said, Max Kaiser said this back in 2012 or something like that. Like, it is true. The business model of it is fraud. And someone shared that next to a quote tweet of Elizabeth Warren. And, she was kind of basically saying, well, we're going to have to get the SEC to see what's going on here because we don't want market manipulation. And when I read that, I was like, oh, shit. Because what they're going to say is what the people who got together on Reddit was the market manipulation. And then they're going to use that to say a bunch of anti-Semites did it. And then they're going to have to just shut down Reddit, or you're only going to be allowed to trade if you, I don't know, if you're a vetted industry professional, or I don't know, or what they'll do is they'll say that it's a bunch of Chinese people and that it's a national security risk to allow the American stock market to be just freely traded by what could be a bunch of Russians or something.
Right.
Well, they've already been saying that. I mean, not they, like, in general, but I've heard a few people online and apparently Jimmy Kimmel also said this on his late night show. This is a secondhand, so please fact check this, everyone. But a friend of mine told me that Jimmy Kimmel also said, like, these were Russians doing this. But there was also Jenny Jardine, who is from Boing Boing and was a very strong HRC Hillary Clinton supporter in 2016, who was also saying similar, like, oh, these Russians. I mean, what if it was a Russian conspiracy? It's like, come on. Really?
Yeah.
Why don't we just face reality and see that people are really pissed off and that nothing has been done? And when is something going to be done? And
like, that was one thing.
Are taking justice in their hands. Go ahead.
Yeah. that was one thing that I saw Chris Hedges say.
Oh, Alex? Did we lose Alex? Carlos?
Alex
Oh my
Rose.
goodness. Alex, uh-oh. The big guys, the big tech guys came and took Alex out. Okay, let's give Alex a moment to see if he comes back, Carlos. In the meantime, why don't we just continue this discussion? Carlos, I mean, what do you think about this? What's happening right now, and how it ties back to Occupy? Because you and I, we were there. We saw what was happening. And for me, I see a lot of the same thing in the comments that are on the Wall Street Bets subreddit, that people are just trying to get back at what happened. They're still angry. They see that this is rigged and unfair.
Well, see, this is, again, go back to some concerns that I have. For example, you had millions of people that lost their homes to Wall Street. And a lot of people forgot about that and are back supporting the same people that drove the financial crisis in the United States to her knees. So some of these things are going to continue to repeat themselves because we are controlled by big money. So what we need to do, again, pulling us back and seeing who we are and what we need to be doing right now. We need to be paying attention to everything, There's a strong healthcare for all movement happening. We're going to see the climate change movement rising up like nobody's business. We are seeing the police brutality movement and many other movements that are rising up with strength. We need to keep going. We cannot afford to slow down, not 1 minute. We cannot afford to slow down. We got to keep moving forward because, again, I'm afraid that they're going to try to give everybody Kool-Aid and let us know, oh, this is the best we could do. You know what I mean? Again, for us, is paying attention and learning to communicate with one another, organizing with one another. Margaret, that's how we're going to win. That's how we're going to bring changes about. Being able to work, things through with our brothers and sisters as a unit, uniting, organizing together.
Yep, I agree. And I also think that we need to stop hyper focusing on our differences in I guess even ideology within the progressive and sort of quote unquote left movement, because the reality is that if we are not as strongly united as our opposition, which are the very wealthy, it's going to be very difficult for us to win these battles. So we really need to find ways to accept our differences and to work within them for a common goal. Like, this thing that has happened with Wall Street Bets, this subreddit, that's what it's called for anyone who doesn't know, is that this is not really really that coordinated as you may think it is. It's not that organized. And I think that's part of the reason why it reminds us a lot of Occupy, because Occupy was really defined itself as a leaderless movement, and people were acting in sort of disconnected ways, but in ways that were all going towards the same goal. And this happened across the country and around the world. And that is sort of what is happening also on this subreddit, where people, they're not necessarily anti-capitalist. Some people on there are just trying to make some money. They see an opportunity to make a lot of money. Let's be clear that there are some people like that. There are not people on there who are necessarily think capitalism is bad or socialist, but there are definitely people on there who are socialists, who are doing it, buying stocks for the first time just to stick it to the hedge funds. So we really kind of have to broaden ourselves here and accept that we have to unite as a class, really, and try to look beyond those things that we may disagree on for the common goal, which is really to have fairness in this system.
Right. And look at, there's a lot of things that we are not going to like about the Democratic Party, the Republican, or whoever. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of things we don't agree with. We don't like. There's things that I don't like about the progressives. Some of the behavior that I see sometimes, or
Mhm.
some of the political stands that they take that doesn't make sense at the particular time that they may occur. So sometimes we may not like something, but we got to learn to move forward and don't get stuck in making a mountain out of out of a speckle. You cannot do that. We gotta believe in ourselves. We can get a lot of stuff done, and we've seen that through the different things that we saw just this week alone. And when you look at the amount of people working on providing emergency help aid for people all over the United States in their cities, it is the grassroots that are leading those efforts. It is the
Mhm.
grassroots that are out there, you know, feeding those that are hungry. It is the grassroots that are in the food banks. It is the grassroots that are leading the way on many other fronts. But we have to be able to work together with each other and learn to overlook some mistakes. We are gonna make
Mhm.
mistakes as well.
Mhm.
Bernie's gonna make mistakes, but people are ready to
Mhm.
blow him out of the water. You know,
Yep.
Same thing with the squad. I mean, I hear all kinds of stuff about the squad and this and that. Look, I'm not in their shoes. We have a voice in there, and I'm gonna support that voice.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
are they perfect? No, they're not. But I can tell you one thing. I think that based on the stuff that they what they say and what they do, how they vote many times, you know, I'd rather take them than take a establishment guy. So we're being insane not to support them. So again, and there's some people that feel that they shouldn't support them, and that's okay if that's what you want to believe. But let's keep moving forward.
Yep, I agree. And if anybody thinks they can do a better job, they should run. And we always encourage everybody who watches this show to run for office because you don't really need any special qualifications. You don't need to be a graduate from Harvard. You don't need to have a law degree. You don't need to be rich to be in office. You just need to have some good morals and a good head on your shoulders and just be part of the community that you're trying to represent. Authenticity goes a long way. Everybody is tired of these fake politicians who pretend that they care about you. I mean, even Trump supporters understand that. They understand that they've been left behind. And that's something that really needs to be addressed. And progressives actually have an opportunity to reach out to Trump supporters as much as people are angry at them for voting for Trump but their reasons, I mean, yes, some of them are racist, but their reasons are not as simple as that they're just racist. A lot of them have been left behind. They've been abandoned by the Democratic Party, which has really become the party of the corporations. And so progressives have a chance to create a broad coalition and actually get things done. So and if you think you can do it, you should do it. You should run.
Right. And we cannot be hiding behind someone else. We cannot use
Mm-hmm.
as excuses. We are responsible for our own time, for our own things, and therefore we need to be accountable also to each other and be able to do things that will benefit the greater good. So I think that, look, today I feel that we are in a better position today as a progressive movement than we were 4 years ago. We have more people in office. We have people that are organizing that never organized before, and they learn. They learn to organize, by just coming together and putting together an idea, and they move with that idea, and now they're being successful. So there's a lot of things that we are going to be doing in this next few months. But definitely, we have to hold the Biden administration accountable, and we have to pay attention to how they're doing things. Don't get all bent out of shape and start cussing half of the world because you didn't agree with something. It's like, pay attention to what they're doing, and we have to outsmart them. We have to strategically organize to defeat them on the next time that comes around, or whatever we need to do. But our minds should be constantly be looking for opportunities, because opportunities are knocking our way right now.
Right, and we have to be creative. We have to educate ourselves too on how the system works, and to find ways to find holes in the system and make our point. And this whole GameStop thing is a prime example of that. Here was a way, if we only just get a bunch of people to put money in this, we could push the stock price up and cause these short sellers, hedge funds, to lose billions of dollars, which they did. So we have to educate ourselves on how the system works in order to know really how to defeat it or to make it work for us. So I encourage people to really, even though we may not like the stock market, we agree that it's a fraud, we should learn how it works and find the weaknesses that we can exploit. And the same thing with technology. We should learn how to make the platforms that we use so that people are not kicking us off of them. So not people, but corporations are not deplatforming progressives and leftists from these platforms. It is very easy to learn how to build a platform. It's okay. It's not that easy, but it is relatively easy. I mean, I say that because I do it all the time. But it's possible. You can learn it. It's like, if you want to learn how to play guitar, you're going to spend 8 hours a day learning how to do it. You can learn how to code. You can learn how to build your own web application. Hey, Alex, thank you for joining us again. You made it back. You can learn anything. You need to, don't be afraid of those things. Just because the rich people seem to have a monopoly on it doesn't mean that you can't figure it out too. I mean, that's the beauty of the internet, is that all the answers are pretty much out there. So Alex, thank you for coming back with us. We are like close to the end, but why don't you finish your thoughts?
Well, I mean, where I was at was, we were saying that people aren't listening to the anger that's in the public, that is legitimate. And Chris Hedges did this, like I was saying, he did an interview where he said, someone's got to bridge the gap between the poor, angry Trump people and and poor, angry people that are on the Black Lives Matter side, because they have the same issues, and again, I always just get back to that. It's the root of the problem, which is this unfair monetary system. I know that things like Bitcoin are solutions, but it's just like we're going to see with GameStop. Do they really let us play by the rules? Or is the pit boss going to come in and be like, no, that was cheating? So yeah, I mean, that really has to happen. We can't just be this 50-50 country. Everybody, if you could just sit down to Make America Great Again person and really pick their brain about like, what is the problem, and they're maybe like growing up in the Rust Belt and that they've got all the same problems. Everybody's got the same problems.
Alex, really fast.
Yeah.
What would you tell other artists that have never really been involved politically or with the community?
Yeah.
We're doing service to the community. What would you tell those people? And they're talented, but you never see them out there,
yeah,
the communities. What would you tell them?
Oh man, I mean, I I would probably say, you know, I mean, I'm not on Facebook, but try to connect in real time with real people somewhere. If you're volunteering at a food bank or whatever, I mean, I think that the more that we can get face to face with other people, I always immediately find common ground that I didn't think existed when I've only been having a digital conversation with someone. You know, so that's incredible to me. You know, where uh, and I think it really shows the distortion of digital communication and just reading typed words back and forth on Twitter or whatever. That you can read every tweet with like a Hitler voice, and you could read like Dr. Seuss like in Hitler voice, and it would sound evil, you know. And we can start to read everything that someone says that has a certain, you know, thing in their bio that identifies them. We can suddenly just like start reading everything in like in this evil voice, and it's clouding our reality, you know. So I really think meeting in person, you know, I hope that we get to be totally afraid of each other because of coronavirus. Um, and, you know, and then everything else that you want to learn is pretty much online, you know. You know, and learn get I mean, I've learned enough during the pandemic. I figured out OBS, I figured out microphones and setting up cameras and how to stream live and all this thing. And like I think someone who learns that could definitely proffer that skill to someone who, or a business that wants that, you know, more and more as part of their, you know. I think that that's a profit. It's like it's adding to your stack of skills that you could monetize, you know. I just think that as the world goes more digital, you know, businesses are going to be more on the internet. And honestly, like, we're interacting more and more digitally, and we forget that we're just talking through a graphic user interface, and that this entire world that we're communicating on is code, you know. And the less that we're aware of this graphic interface of code that exists between us, the more we forget about it. And yet it is the foundation of the world that we are more and more living in completely. And so learning how it works, what it is, it's like the difference between just driving a car and knowing how to you know, how to work a car, how to fix a car, you know. And it's really going to be like being a world builder in the very near future, because almost as much as or more than like brick and mortar, because we are more and more interacting, whether we like it or not, because of pandemic or not, or government decree or whatever. We're interacting through this realm, you know.
Right.
And it's just written by a bunch of people,
Right.
who have opinions, and you might not like those opinions, or you might. And soon enough, it's like it is a slippery slope with all this online digital censorship, you know. And I know everybody was like, "Yay, Trump!" and we kicked him off the internet, you know. But it's like, that's pretty crazy if you really take it in. If you get over the woohoo, like fuck Trump, you know, and you're like, wait, what did we just do?
That's a whole other thing that deserves an hour worth of discussion, because there's so much to think about in terms of
battle is
privacy
online right now.
and power.
I mean, it's better than any TV show, this GameStop drama.
It's very exciting, I have to
And
say.
people are really, our leaders are going to be putting their feet to the fire right now. This is the shit. Like, we are going to watch what they do. Are they going to take it, or is the system really rigged? And if anything, what's going to come of this is more people are going to be radicalized because
Mm.
they're getting it. The audacity and the rigged system will be in more and more people are going to get it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
Hey,
Alex, so much for being with us this Sunday. We really appreciate it. You know
yeah,
how
this
much.
is fun. I'm sorry about that digital mix-up, but I'm glad I got
No
on at the
problem.
very end here.
Yeah. Glad you made it back with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Margaret.
So, all right. Well, Carlos, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Send my heart to those people that are really struggling right now. Those workers that have no jobs. That are you are just looking at what's in front of you and you see nothing but darkness. I can tell you this: there's a lot of people out there that are working very, very hard for you, whoever you may be, that is hurting. There's people that are dedicated activists, advocates that are fighting for workers. Hang in there. Please hang in there. Seek help if you need help. If you are depressed, you don't feel like living, you don't want to go out, your whole world is upside down, please talk to somebody.
Mhm.
Find somebody to talk to. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't internalize that.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're just gonna hurt yourself more. We all been through this. I lost my home. I lost everything. I end up living in my car at one time, you know. But that's not the end of it. We have to keep moving forward. No matter what, you move forward. And there's people out there that really love you and care for you. You just, you know, you just look at the wrong thing right now. Take your eyes off the circumstance and start looking at yourself and the beauty that you bring to this world. Who you are, the talents that you have. You are a very special person, whoever you may be hurting out there right now. You are a very special person and you have so much to offer. So don't give up, please. Don't give up. If you need to call me, call me. Sure, I'm not going to let you give up. Okay, we're going to
Yeah.
help each other because I'm no better than you. I struggle just like you. I feel like crying day in and day out. I feel like crying because I see how tough it is. But I don't give up. I just keep moving forward.
Mhm.
And we find avenues to
You
help each other.
make me happy that like more than anything, knowing that people like you and the things that you do and Trinity and the food banks and the people that are really helping people is makes me believe that we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it, buddy.
Yes, we are.
Mm. Thank you
Margaret?
both. And thank you, Carlos, for a wonderful Sunday morning sermon. Yes, please don't hold any of those feelings and reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. And well, this ends our Sunday morning show. Thank you, everyone who stayed with us. You're watching Stand Up, Fight Back, and we're on at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time every Sunday morning here on the Bernie Sanders Brigade page, and we're also simulcast on a few others. You can watch the recording of this on YouTube, on Insight Out News, and also on the Bernie Sanders Brigade page. So please share this with your friends, your family, and tune in every week for strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. I'm Margot Paez, your co-host, and over here, I always get confused. That way. Over there, that's Carlos, our other co-host for the show. And thank you, Alex, for joining us today. He is a painter, and we had such a wonderful time talking with him about his work and Occupy, Revolution, and the internet. And that game stonks. So, all right, everybody, we'll see you next week. Have a great Sunday. And
Thank you.
take care, be safe, and wear a mask.